Hello everyone and welcome back to Alternative Apex. We are here at the Red Bull Ring for round 9 of the 2022 Formula 1 season. But before we get to the Grand Prix, first of all we have to go to the Austrian sprint race, the second sprint race of the season. And in Imola it produced quite a lot of excitement there as the two Ferraris duelled it out for the victory on that occasion. This time, well, I imagine we could well see the Ferraris battling up front again because those two cars have been on another level so far in recent races. Let's have a look at the grid now for our sprint race, and it is indeed the two Ferrari cars that line up on the front row alongside each other there, with Leclerc on pole position, continuing his strong form that he has been consistently showing recently, with Carlos Sainz joining him on the front row. Then it is Red Bull on the second row with Sergio Perez ahead of Max Verstappen, with Valtteri Bottas getting ahead of both Mercedes cars in qualifying, with Russell in 6th and Magnussen in 7th, with Daniel Ricciardo 8th, Lando Norris' teammate in 9th, and Pierre Gasly rounding out the top 10. Just missing out on the top 10 is Nico Hülkenberg with Lewis Hamilton behind him. Then it is Esteban Ocon, Mick Schumacher, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. Then it is Zhou Guanyu for Alfa Romeo. Whilst his teammate starts 5th, he's 12 places behind him. Just then it is Stroll, then Tsunoda, Albon, and then it is Pascal Wehrlein and Nicholas Latifi rounding out the back of the grid. Now it is time to go down to the formation lap and see these cars preparing for today's sprint race. Notable features from qualifying, of course, were Bottas qualifying up in 5th. Again, another tough qualifying for Vettel, and he's down in 21st position. As well as Zhou, whilst his teammate qualified 5th. Zhou down in 17th, 12 places between the two of them. Quite disappointing there. As another standout was Hamilton qualifying 7 places behind Russell. So, some really interesting stories to take away from qualifying. And usually we'd only have the Grand Prix to sort of see how those develop. But this race, we have the sprint race, so a 1/3 distance race, and then the Grand Prix after that, so even more chance to see how these sort of qualifying differences can affect the race, because it could well have a big difference, but perhaps on the opposite side it might give these drivers a chance to recover positions, but equally it could get worse for them if their pace really isn't there. So it's interesting to see, and I'm very excited for the second ever sprint race in the 2022 Formula 1 season here in Alternative Apex. All the cars are on the grid now, the green flag is being waved, and the lights are coming on. And we are racing in Austria. It's a good start there from Carlos Sainz, starting second. Looks like he got the better traction there off the line. He does indeed, side by side with his teammate into turn 1. Perez got a good start as well, but Leclerc's going to hold the lead around the outside of turn 1. Verstappen with a good turn 1 as well there. He's now ahead of his teammate, as now his teammate of Perez is defending from George Russell as they go up towards turns 2 and 3 here, through the kink of turn 2, onto the brakes, into turn 3 now. They're side by side, lots of battles in the mid-pack there as they're, 3-4 wide in the background now as they make their way through turn 3. Now towards the next corner of this race, turn 4 could cause some drama as the next downhill braking zone a little bit tougher for these cars than the original ones in turns 1 and 2. But now here we go, Charles Leclerc leads the way early in this race as Hamilton immediately looking to try and make up some ground that he lost from that tough qualifying session. He's maintained 12th off the start, but now looking to try and get himself up into 11th place. He's down inside of Pierre Gasly now. Brilliant move from the Mercedes driver, and he does indeed pull that one off there. Strong move there for Lewis Hamilton. As behind him, that is Pierre Gasly now coming under pressure from, that is, I believe, Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. Ocon's going to try and get Hamilton as well here. Great exit from turn 1. He's down the inside of the pair of them. Can Ocon make a double overtake here? They're 3 wide coming out of turn 3. Brilliant racing here in the early laps of this Austrian sprint race. Ocon can't quite hold on here as he has to back out of it. Gasly, though, despite losing the position in turn 1, looked like he was going to lose 2 places. He may well maintain that P12 here as they're side by side now through turn 4. Hamilton on the inside, Gasly now on the outside, and now that'll swap as they go into the next corner. Gasly with the preferred line into these high-speed bends now. Who is going to come out ahead here? Hamilton trying to hang on around the outside, but Gasly is putting up a great fight here as they're still side by side, and Hamilton will get clear here as battles continue behind them. That is, I believe, Esteban Ocon and Zhou Guanyu racing side by side as Gasly has fought back on Hamilton into the final couple of corners. Gasly sent one to the inside. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to make anything of it, but he gives it a good go there as the racing continues behind, as Ocon now with a small mistake is now under pressure from Mick Schumacher. As now they make their way towards turn 1, the yellow flags. Oh, that's Carlos Sainz, second in the race, second in the championship. Crucially, this is a lot of points lost, and this is going to be starting last for the Grand Prix. That is a massive problem for Ferraris. Finally, Sainz is having some reliability issues like Leclerc had earlier in the season, and Carlos Sainz is out of this sprint race. He will lose points in this sprint and will start last for the Grand Prix as we see racing up in the points-paying positions. It's Nico Hülkenberg, and I believe that is Daniel Ricciardo, who was racing him then, but now is under pressure from both, from Pierre Gasly and Lewis Hamilton, who's in this fight as well, battling it out for the back end of the points here in this sprint race. and of course a crucial top 10 starting position. Ricciardo is going to lose out here as Hamilton and Gasly once again, and I imagine not for the last time, side by side in here in this race. Hamilton with the DRS, can he make a move on Hülkenberg? Can he stay ahead of Gasly? Let's see, he's going to have to stay behind Hülkenberg. He may even have to stay behind Gasly. Gasly has an absolutely massive send late on the brakes there from the Frenchman, and he's getting up into 8th position here, but Hülkenberg has got the inside line for the next two left-handers. Can he make this move stick, or will Gasly be able to get him around the outside here? They're side by side at, well, such incredibly high speeds. It's absolutely crazy racing here in Austria. Pierre Gasly is ahead though of Nico Hülkenberg, and after defending from Lewis Hamilton for so long and fighting him for so long, he's now up into a points paying position. So brilliant racing, whereas Hamilton now is on the back of Hülkenberg. He's looking to try and get past up into the top 9 here as they're side by side through the final couple of corners here. That's a brave one from the Briton. Down the inside he goes. Can he make the move stick? No, gets very sideways off the final corner, and that is going to allow Schumacher to get into this fight as well. He's going to go to the outside of turn 1 now. Down the main straight they go towards turn 1, and Schumacher already clear before they even get to the braking zone of the first corner there. So great racing here in the midfield. Absolutely wonderful to watch here as Hülkenberg will stay ahead for now, but Schumacher is the car behind him, and Schumacher is the one who's going to put pressure on him. Hülkenberg has to go defensive here into turn 3. Schumacher's on the outside. Can he make anything happen here? It's still great racing here in Austria, as that's Hamilton right behind them looking to try and find a gap to get by the both of them, as Schumacher is on the outside now of Hülkenberg going into the next right-hander. Can he make it stick? Doesn't even have to worry about the corner. He's ahead before the braking zone. That Haas is very quick on the straights here and is demonstrating that with the help of DRS so far in this race. As now we look to the other Haas of Kevin Magnussen. Is he able to defend from Lando Norris here? The McLaren going down the inside of turn 3 here. Racing hard. The Haas cars looking like they've got good pace today, but McLaren and Lando Norris crucially need points after some issues they've had so far this season. Norris right on the back of Magnussen. Will he go for the move here into turn 4? Will he dive it, lay on the brakes? It looks like he will do just that. Lay on the brakes. Oh, the banging of wheels through turn 4. Magnussen's got the exit there. Traction on the outside line. Can he now stay on this inside line? Because this is the line that has been so preferred by most drivers so far in this race. Lando Norris is going to try all he can to try and get around the outside. Can someone finally go all the way around the outside? It looks like it might just happen here, but they're still side by side on the exit here. Who is going to come out on top? There's great racing here as they have side by side towards the final couple of corners. How long is this battle going to go on for? They're still racing here side by side through the final corner. It is Norris first, it's Magnussen, and Magnussen will hold on here. The Haas driver comes out on top on this battle in particular. But further up the road we have racing. Valtteri Bottas is on the back of Sergio Perez here for 4th place. The Alfa Romeo is absolutely flying, and he's going down the inside of Sergio Perez here. Laid on the brakes. Bottas, after losing his Mercedes seat, some people wondered if that'd be the end of his Formula 1 career, but he is proving everyone who thought that very, very wrong here. As in that Alfa Romeo, it's starting to make its way up the order in terms of performance, and he's starting to make his way up the order in this sprint race. Down the inside of turn 4 now, fighting hard with Sergio Perez, but Perez has got the better line on the exit of the corner. Can he stay side by side? Crucially, it looks like he will do just that. As they're now side by side through the left-hander. Who is going to come out on top? Perez, much better exit, and he will maintain 4th position so far in this race, but the racing is still very much continuing so far in this race. Do not go anywhere, anyone, because this is brilliant to watch. We've got Bottas still on the back of Sergio Perez for 4th place in this race. Could Bottas be a podium contender in the Grand Prix if he keeps up this pace? Didn't have the best of starts and has got sort of stuck battling Perez, but maybe if he can get in the DRS of Verstappen or Russell, he could keep up with one of those guys, because this is absolutely wonderful to watch. The Finn in the Alfa Romeo. Great racing to the outside of turn 4. But he brakes a bit too late. He's off onto the grass, and that is a big mistake there from Valtteri Bottas. He misses the corner. He's going to hold on to P5, but sadly that is his chance at P4 gone for this sprint race. Meanwhile, we've got Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen battling still, but out front it is Charles Leclerc who is going to win here in Austria. A brilliant drive for the Monegasque, and he is going to continue his domination this season. He wins in the sprint race with Max Verstappen in 2nd, and George Russell will complete the podium in 3rd place. But Charles Leclerc continues to dominate this season so far. When his engine works, he wins the race. That's just how these things work. But we still have a Grand Prix to go. So, well, let's wait and see what happens. Carlos Sainz starting last. He's not probably going to be a contender for the victory. But who knows what might happen, because this race, this sprint race, has already been filled with drama and with so much racing, it's unbelievable. Who knows what might happen in the Grand Prix. Here are your official results from that sprint race. Charles Leclerc takes home the maximum 8 points there, with Verstappen in 2nd and George Russell in 3rd. Perez takes 4th ahead of Bottas, who looked very quick come the end of that sprint, but in the end could only get 5th. Then it is Kevin Magnussen in 6th, who just about held on from Lando Norris throughout that sprint race, and it is Pierre Gasly who takes home the final points-paying position from the sprint, but Schumacher and Hulkenberg both starting in points-paying positions for the Grand Prix if they can maintain where they are starting. So it's going to be an exciting one here, with Lewis Hamilton 11th, only gaining 1 place in that sprint, so I imagine he'll be disappointed with that. And Pascal Wehrlein in 12th for Porsche, looking like he might have another chance at points this season. Crucially, Zhou Guanyu there in 13th, his teammate battling up in the top 5. I imagine he'll definitely want to get points at worst in the Grand Prix. So, well, we're speaking about what will happen in the Grand Prix. Let's head over to it now. We are here for the Austrian Grand Prix, round 9 of the 2022 Formula 1 season. The drivers have had a sprint race and a qualifying session to decide the grid, so they are clearly getting used to this track around this great racetrack. 10 corners technically, but realistically only 7. One of the shortest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar, and definitely the shortest lap time of the season. But yes, it is always great for the action because there's so many great overtaking opportunities around this circuit, and the fact it's short means that those opportunities come around so much quicker. But now it is time to look over to the starting grid for today's Grand Prix, set of course by the sprint race. It is Charles Leclerc on pole position ahead of Max Verstappen, the Red Bull driver, starting on the front row for the first time in a while after some struggles for the Red Bull racing team in recent races. As we now look further down the grid, it is Sergio Perez who will start third after George Russell took a grid penalty, with Valtteri Bottas in 4th, with Kevin Magnussen 5th, Lando Norris in 6th, then it is Pierre Gasly 7th, Nico Hulkenberg 8th, then it is Lewis Hamilton 9th, and Pascal Wehrlein in 10th. Then there's Zhou Guanyu in 11th, with George Russell starting 12th despite the grid penalty. Then there's Sebastian Vettel 13th, Fernando Alonso 14th, with Lance Stroll 15th, Daniel Ricciardo 16th, Esteban Ocon in 17th position, Yuki Tsunoda in 18th, then it is Mick Schumacher 19th, Alexander Albon 20th, with the back row being made up of Carlos Sainz and Nicholas Latifi, who both failed to finish the sprint race. So Sainz will be the one to watch there, as he will be trying to go from 21st up into the points today, and in that Ferrari you'd certainly hope he'd be able to do just that. Now we see the teams and drivers preparing for today's race down on the actual grid, and Carlos Sainz will probably be the talking point for this race, trying to make his way back up the order in that Ferrari. In theory he could do it quite easily because it's been such a quick car all season, but we saw Hamilton struggle to make his way back up the order in the sprint race, so maybe it is just quite a tough track to make those gains on because of the long straights, meaning that it's so hard to really break away like you could on other tracks. So it'll be intriguing to see how this race plays out, especially for Carlos Sainz, with some rumours of some potential rain on the way for the second race in a row. Could certainly spice things up, but for the start at least, the weather is lovely and sunny, so we have a very picturesque start to this race, but who knows what might be coming later on down the line. But now we see the drivers making their way around the formation lap, all the drivers in the field starting on the medium compound of tyre. And we see now on board with Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche. These drivers making their way around to the grid. Both Porsches are starting in the top 10 and therefore starting in points-paying positions for today's race. Of course, grid penalties have helped them out there, but still, you've got to be there to capitalise on that, and they are indeed there to capitalise on that. Porsche have had some up and down pace recently. They've shown sparks of being really quick in tracks like Baku and Canada, but then last time out in Silverstone just did not have the pace and both finished comfortably outside the point-paying positions, so be interesting to see if Porsche can bounce back successfully and maybe demonstrate what the strengths of their car are around this high-speed Red Bull ring. The drivers are on the grid now, the green flag is ready to be waved, and we are almost ready to start today's race. The lights are coming on ahead of the drivers, and we are racing in Austria. It's a good start there from Charles Leclerc, who makes up for his poor start yesterday and gets a much better launch today. Is there free wide for second in the background? Bottas challenging the Red Bulls. Verstappen a little bit of contact there with both the Alfa Romeo and then his teammate, but looks like he's still got the best exit out of turn 1. Running all the way up towards turns 2 and 3 here, Perez on the back of his teammate, but it looks like he doesn't quite have the overlap that is so crucial around here, and Perez will have to settle for third on this occasion. Bottas holds on to 4th here as Lando Norris looks like he's finally got ahead of Kevin Magnussen, who is under big pressure from Pierre Gasly as they're 3 wide behind him, and now 2 wide as the two Porsches are battling away behind Lewis Hamilton. They may even pressure Hamilton into this brake zone, but late on the brakes goes Lewis Hamilton. Hulkenberg and Wehrlein side by side in the 2 Porsche cars, Russell right behind the pair of those, and now they're going to be racing into these high-speed left-handers. Hulkenberg's on the inside, but Russell makes it 3 wide. That's a dive bomb and a half there from the Briton. Down the inside he'll go. Will he get both Porsches, or will it just be Wehrlein? He's now still side by side with Nico Hülkenberg, but Hülkenberg will fend off the Mercedes driver as they now make their way towards the final couple of corners. Wehrlein looking to go back racing with Russell, but instead it's Joe that's making the moves here as they're 3 wide into the final couple of corners here. That's the 2 Aston Martins and the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. Lots of rubbing and racing further back down the order. Look at this pack of cars coming out of the final corner. Look at this, Sainz is involved in this as well, as they're side by side ahead as they're 3-4 wide almost going into turn 1. Amazing racing here in Austria, and is Ricciardo who's ahead of Vettel, Vettel who's ahead of Stroll who's ahead of Ocon, but how long will that last as Ocon is right on the back of the Aston Martin here. Aston Martin yet to score points this season, currently running 15th and 16th, they need to take some risks in this one, but it's Ocon who's taking the risks. He sends one to the inside there of his friend in real life there, that's Stroll, and Ocon still racing out of turn 3 down towards turn 4, as then behind them we've got racing between Mick Schumacher, Carlos Sainz, Tsunoda, Latifi, Albon. Look at all of this racing up and down the order. The 2 Williams cars, probably the least seen drivers so far this season, battling it out now over 21st and 22nd place side by side as they make their way now towards the high-speed left-handers. Who's going to come out on top of this battle? Let's highlight this battle. We haven't seen these guys all season. They've had their issues, so let's watch these guys race it away over that 21st place. It may not be for a point, it may not be even close to points, but it means something to these guys. And there you see Latifi ahead of Albon for now, but they're still side by side as they head towards the final couple of corners now, racing away as it looks like Latifi's ahead. Albon looks to make the move, but it looks like Latifi has got ahead on this occasion now. But up at the front it is Leclerc, who still leads over Verstappen and Sergio Perez, but crucially they haven't been able to drop Valtteri Bottas just yet, the 2 Red Bulls. But now we see Lewis Hamilton racing Kevin Magnussen here over that P6 into turn 1 they go. Kevin Magnussen late on the brakes, so is Hamilton. Wheel banging they go through. Who will have DRS on their way up the hill? It looks like it's Hamilton with the opened rear wing as they make their way up towards turns 2 and 3. Who will be the later on the brakes? Crucially, it's looking like Magnussen on that inside line. Looks like he has the better entry, but it's Hamilton who has the better traction on exit. But who will have DRS on this occasion? This time it's Magnussen, and crucially that's going to allow Magnussen to stay ahead on this occasion. Magnussen will be ahead as they break into turn 4, but Hamilton looks for a move. Can't quite make it happen though. That allowed Hülkenberg to close right back in though, as well as Russell, and maybe even Wehrlein as well in this scrap of cars. Hamilton going to try again though, down the inside of turn 1. Going to try the exact same move he tried last time, even though it didn't work last time. They're racing into turn 1. They bang wheels through turn 1. That could definitely risk some damage for the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. They very much banged end plates on the front wing. But Magnussen again will stay ahead. But Hamilton with the DRS open is going to go to the outside once more of turn 3. It's almost a repeat of last lap. Just this time the the Porsche of Hülkenberg is right in this fight as well. They're still side by side off the exit of turn 3. Great racing here as they make their way down towards turn 4. Magnussen hasn't got DRS on this occasion. Hamilton does. Can he brake later on the outside line? He's got the grippier line. He's got the racing line in theory. But as they get out of the corner, Hamilton still side by side with Magnussen. He is not willing to give this up. This is a brilliant defence from Magnussen. But can the Haas car, does it just have the pace to defend here? It just does not look like he quite has it. As Russell's going to look to the inside of Hülkenberg in the background, but he doesn't go for it. Probably the correct decision out of a bit of a bold dive when we saw him do that earlier in the race, so certainly wouldn't be new. As we look racing once more, Magnussen is going to have to defend from Nico Hülkenberg into turn 1. Magnussen, we've seen him defend so much in this race. That's big contact again. Magnussen with a big mistake there, sends it over the curve on the inside, and now we could have 3 wide racing as they come up the hill. Maybe, just maybe, they make their way up towards turns 2 and 3 once more. It is Hamilton racing Hülkenberg, racing George Russell. It's Hamilton ahead of this pack, ahead of George Russell and Hülkenberg racing, with Magnussen and Wehrlein getting involved as well. Look at this racing towards turn 4 they go. It is Hülkenberg ahead of Russell, but onto the brakes, who will be the braver? It's Russell on the outside. Looks like he's got the better line here. Around the outside, sweeps it past the Porsche and up into 7th place there for Mercedes. But Hülkenberg's not going to give this one up. He's back down the inside. But look at that Mercedes cruise around the outside. The downforce it has, just a huge advantage over the Porsche through the high-speed stuff there. As now we go back to Carlos Sainz, who still, on lap 9 out of 36, is still battling over 19th place. This is not the start Sainz will have wanted, as he finds himself down way outside the points and not looking especially strong early stages of this race, I know. But, well, we're a quarter of the way through the race already, and he's only in 19th place. He's gained 2 places in this race so far, but at least he's starting to make some progress. And maybe as this field begins to spread out, this will give Sainz the chance to sort of use his pace a bit better rather than being stuck in a group of cars, and let's see if that's exactly what he's able to do. He's now on the back of the Alpine of Esteban Ocon, showing some strong pace, but equally looks like it maybe has some issues in this Grand Prix so far, running down in 19th or back up into 18th on this occasion, as Sainz will not be able to make the move happen into turn 1 as now they make their way down towards turns, well I say down up towards turns 2 and 3 here, this very undulating circuit in the hills of Austria. Who's going to make the move work on this occasion? Side by side out of turn 3, sorry. It is Sainz on the outside of Esteban Ocon. You see him looking over briefly to the Alpine that is on his right, now towards into the braking zone, the downhill braking zone. Who will get ahead? It looks like Sainz has got ahead on this occasion, and he has indeed. Sainz up into 18th place and is doing very well at the moment, but now has to try and make up more and more positions as he's now on the back of Lance Stroll, and this train of cars isn't going to make it easy for him unless he makes moves like that. He goes down the inside of the penultimate corner. Can he make that stick? Not quite. Oh, but Stroll goes wide straight on in the final corner. Lance Stroll will lose ground there, and Sainz is up into 17th place, and the next car up the road for him, I believe, is Mick Schumacher in the Haas. As you now look back up to the Porsches, scrapping away for 8th position, it is Wehrlein, who's probably been the weaker of the two Porsche drivers most of this season, up into 8th place now in this battle, as Hülkenberg now will look to try and hold on to the DRS of his teammate to try and pull away, perhaps from the cars ahead, as now we see Magnussen racing Fernando Alonso for the final points-paying position in this race. Magnussen put in a great race in the sprint, but just doesn't look like the Haas quite has the pace in the Grand Prix today. As we're approaching the halfway point, he is defending for his life here against Fernando Alonso in the Alpine, who again is demonstrating that Alpine quite often are good at getting one car up into the points, but not often both, as Ocon down in 20th, Alonso battling it out for 10th place here, racing down towards turn 4. Who is going to get ahead now? Is Alonso swinging around the outside there, hanging out the tail a little bit of that Alpine. Now, clipping the grass they do through turn 5. Now the inside for Alonso into turn 6, and now into turn 7. And it is indeed Alonso who will be ahead on this occasion, and will get up into the points-paying positions. They're side by side, Zhou Guanyu and Daniel Ricciardo through this next left-hander. They're racing hard here. Zhou knows the pressure's on, given how well his teammate's doing recently. Racing with the Aussie, Daniel Ricciardo. They're going to go 3 wide into the penultimate corner. That one can't end. Well, they bang wheels. But that's a brilliant move, and a real sign of experience there for Sebastian Vettel, who gets up into 13th place there, challenging for the points, I suppose, for Aston Martin. They just want points. They're quite a way off, but if retirements go there, where maybe, just maybe, is there 3 wide into turn 1 behind? Who's that involved in this little scrap? Sainz, Zhou and Schumacher are racing away 3 different Ferrari-powered cars, all battling it out over this 15th position. Sainz, crucially, needs to get these moves done now rather than later, because that Ferrari, it needs clear air to make it work, it seems, because whilst the car is clearly the the quickest car in the field, and definitely quicker than the cars it's racing at the moment down here in 15th, it just doesn't seem like it's cutting through the field like you'd expect a Ferrari to do so. Because, I mean, his teammate's leading the race by 4 seconds. It's crazy the differences between the two drivers in this race. I know, of course, Sainz started on the back row, but still, even with traffic, to have that difference of pace is huge there, as I believe the leaders may well be coming into the pits. Now it is indeed Charles Leclerc who will be the first of the front runners to pull into the pit lane here with that big lead he has. He's got nothing to risk by pitting early. Verstappen in second there, Perez in third. I believe it's Verstappen who's coming into the pits. It is on this lap. It is Verstappen, followed in by Bottas. Bottas going to try the undercut on Sergio Perez here, racing out of the pit exit. They go. Leclerc, will he come out onto a nice clear bit of track? It looks like he will, just about. He's behind the Mercedes of Russell, but very close actually to the back of Russell. May even go for the move immediately here. Russell defends into turn 3. Luckily Leclerc had that big lead before the pit stop, but this is still very much an unnecessary battle for Charles Leclerc here. He's ahead of the Mercedes though, and just demonstrates the extra grip that Ferrari has, and so do those lovely new fresh hard compound tyres, as Leclerc running third on the road, but very much the net race leader still. As Perez now, a lap later, will come into the pit lane. Lando Norris will follow him in for McLaren. Charles Leclerc in third will retake the lead here in Austria. Perez pulls into the pit lane. This needs to be a quick pit stop from Red Bull if they want to stay ahead of Valtteri Bottas in that battle for third place. Let's see, where is it going to bring out? No, it's behind Bottas. Crucially, Bottas in the Alfa Romeo is going to undercut the Red Bull of Sergio Perez by quite a big margin, as well as Perez is going to come under pressure from Wehrlein, who's having a longer first stint here for Porsche, going a bit longer than most. But Perez now is over 2 seconds behind the Alfa Romeo of Bottas, so this could throw a spanner in the works of Red Bull's plans, because Bottas has just got right in the mix and really throws away any chances of them perhaps playing some tactics between the two Red Bull cars, as now Bottas runs up in the podium positions. Carlos Sainz, once again, we go to see his troubles further down the order. He's going to race past Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo makes a mistake there, tries to brake late, but perhaps these new generation of cars just don't seem to suit him as well, because he could not brake late and make the corner at least. He can brake late, just can't always make the corner as well as braking late. But on this occasion, Sainz gets ahead of the McLaren drivers. Now we see two Porsches. Looks like with Wehrlein going long on that first stint, Hülkenberg has undercut him again. But we're going to see again that Wehrlein makes the move up into turn 3. And that's a nice move from the Porsche driver ahead of his teammate as they're battling away for the final points playing position once more. It is Magnussen versus Alonso. We've seen this one a few times in this race already. Who is going to come out on top though? This time it's side by side into turn 4. We're seeing, well, quite a, not the best of views, but looking at the back of Alonso's rear wing is now. Out of turn 4 we go, towards turn 5 and then turn 6. Magnussen racing Fernando Alonso. Into the left-hander they go. Can Magnussen hold on here on the inside line? The inside line has definitely been the preferred line so far, but Alonso is not someone that's going to be scared away from an overtake, and what a move by Fernando Alonso there around the outside of that high-speed left-hander. A brave move to say the least there. Great racing from the very experienced veteran of Formula 1. Now we look further down the order. Carlos Sainz is making another move here in the final couple of corners. This is where he overtook Stroll. Stroll though made a mistake in the final corner. Will Vettel do the same? No, it's Sainz that makes the mistake. Bangs wheels with the Aston Martin. Vettel in 13th at the moment. Probably one of the best positions they've been running in all season for the Aston Martin team. As now Sainz is coming under pressure from Ricciardo. What Sainz? What is he doing? As they banging on wheels, and he's going to lose the position to Ricciardo. This is just, I mean, it just, you look at it and think, Sainz, how is he so sort of far? How is he struggling so much in the Ferrari, now under pressure and putting the pressure back onto Ricciardo? But this is a move he did a few laps ago, and yet he's having to do it again because he just didn't manage to make the move on Vettel, and it's disappointing for the sake of the championship that Sainz is having these issues, because it's just not what you'd expect from a driver who is second in the World Drivers' Championship, and realistically he's been a title contender all season long, but probably not going to be that much of a contender after this round because he's going to lose so many points to his teammate this weekend. As we see racing side by side Alonso and Magnussen. I sound like a broken record at this point. Look at these guys racing towards the final corner. It's Alonso versus Magnussen once more, with Gasly right behind them. And it is Alonso who will get ahead this time at least. Who is going to be behind him though? It's Gasly swinging to the outside of Kevin Magnussen. And now Fernando Alonso stuck middle of 3 wide. Magnussen going to go down the inside of 2 cars. Towards turn 1 they go, banging wheels. And look, oh, big slide there for Gasly, but really bullied out wide of turn 1. Alonso is ahead with the DRS. Magnussen behind without DRS, but still has that whole slipstream of an Alpine in front of him. Can he make the move sticking to turn 3? No. Going to stay behind this time. But Fernando Alonso looking pretty strong in this race so far. But we've seen that this battle does not seem like it's ending anytime soon. Alonso, though, for now at least, up in 2P10. As now the clouds have very much got much darker here around the Red Bull Ring and the Austrian hills. But George Russell making a move to the outside of Lando Norris. Rain, I believe, is actually starting to fall. I may have just seen that, so that's a bit extra spice to add to the end of this race. Russell will go to the outside of Lando Norris. Can he make this move stick? Looks like he has. But side by side with Lando Norris still going to turn 4. Russell being squeezed all the way onto the curve there. These two drivers who've raced their way up through the junior ranks at a fairly similar time, still racing their way around the racetrack in Formula 1. Russell versus Norris. Russell in theory with a better car here. They bang wheels as they go through turns 6 and 7 though. Will Russell be able to complete this move, or will Norris hold it around the outside? They're still side by side here, and Norris looks like he might have just held on here as Hamilton behind these guys, looking to try and capitalise on these two battling away and gaining some ground. Hamilton, though, still trying to get past the McLaren. Russell's still trying to get past the McLaren. Can't quite do it, though. And Norris will stay ahead for now, but Russell still on the back of the McLaren. He does not allow himself to lose any time in this race. I say that, he's lost a lot of time already in this fight, but he's going to manage to finally make the move on the McLaren, but Norris is not going to give that one up easily. He's going to stay right on the back of that Mercedes, although Hamilton may have to become his new focus, as the second Mercedes driver has indeed closed on to the back of the McLaren, as rain is definitely now falling here. You can see it starting to set down on the track, but slicks do seem like the tyre of choice here, as now racing into turn 3, side by side between Norris and Russell, who is, sorry, I'm not very good with getting the Mercedes right clearly today. Norris and Hamilton as they race down towards turn 4, side by side on the brakes. Hamilton's going to try and go all the way around the outside here. We've seen it done several times in this race, but Norris is really putting up a great defence against, well, he put up a great defence against Russell, and it looks like he's going to try and do the same here with Hamilton. They're still side by side through the next corner. Turn 7's the next one. Hamilton surely can get this move done into turn 7, but nope, Lando Norris keeps it around the outside, and what is some absolutely stunning racing from Lando Norris here. He is not letting these Mercedes go. With this late stage of the race, you can't blame him. He's got a massive gap behind him. He can take the risks, but in the end, it's not going to be enough, as Lewis Hamilton will go around the outside of turn 9 and retake that position on Lando Norris. But Lando Norris, he's not giving up just yet. He's right back in the fight. Into turn 1 they go, side by side. And who will come out on top? It's Lando Norris around the outside of turn 1. A brilliant overtake there in the McLaren. Lewis Hamilton trying to fight back, though, as they run their way up towards turns 2 and 3. Hamilton in the Mercedes, Norris in the McLaren. Two greats of Formula 1 and two Brits behind the wheel. Two very popular Brits, I think it's fair to say, racing their way here down towards turn 4. So much action in this race. It just does not want to stop anytime soon, as they now, Hamilton finally gets ahead of the McLaren, but Norris is going to do all he can to keep up with the Mercedes, but I worry it may well be a lost cause given the raw pace that the Mercedes has had in this race so far. Back down the order in these increasingly damp conditions, Magnussen is racing Alonso once again in this race, and this is a nice simple overtake up into turn 3. Gets it done quickly on the brakes there. Now, the issue they now have is that there's a red car looming in their mirrors with just 4 laps left after this one. Sainz is right in the mix, and you can see more and more rain starting to fall. Could complicate things. But Alonso, using all his experience to stay ahead of his fellow Spaniard there, coming out of turn 4 towards turns 5 and 6. Carlos Sainz looking like he might be able to salvage a point from this one, but Alonso and Magnussen are certainly not going to make it easy for him as they're side by side towards turn 1 now. Alonso wheel to wheel with Sainz. They bang wheels, and Sainz will get the move done on this occasion. The track continuing to get wet here in this race. I don't know if you can see it very well on your screens, but that is definitely becoming a damp racetrack here. Fernando Alonso now under pressure from Pierre Gasly again, who sort of spent his whole day sort of rummaging around the sort of just outside the top 10 positions. He's now on the back of Alonso, who continues to put the pressure on Carlos Sainz, despite that Ferrari being a quicker car than the Alpine. Alonso isn't going to give up anytime soon, as again you can see the rain getting heavier and heavier here with just a few laps left in this race. Carlos Sainz up into 11th. He's got Kevin Magnussen ahead with only 3 laps left after this one. Can he get into the points paying positions? Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly are trying to battle it out over that 12th place, knowing full well that if anything were to happen ahead, they would be in a position to try and get a point in this race. They're not far outside the points. The same goes for Sebastian Vettel, who's put in a very strong drive so far today, up in 14th place. As now they race towards the penultimate corner. Alonso on the inside, Gasly on the outside, now into the final corner. This is a corner where we've seen some drama in this race so far, and again, we see Alonso getting very sideways there, and Vettel is going to get right in this fight. The Aston Martin trying to get ahead, so you see more and more rain landing. This is really a racetrack for the veterans to prove themselves. Vettel racing with Alonso, these two throwing it back to their glory days. It's like the early 2010s here. But on the final couple of laps of this race, and it's Carlos Sainz racing Kevin Magnussen here. Magnussen continued to hold on for as long as he could, but Sainz will get ahead here as the track is getting slippier and slippier, but we still got one more lap to go. Magnussen is right there on the back of the Ferrari and does not look willing to give that one up. But Magnussen is still right on the back of the Ferrari. He's right there. He is, well, looking like he's got the DRS. He does have the DRS. DRS still is available despite the rain that's coming down. Towards turn 3 they go. Magnussen to the outside. Sainz is on the inside. Magnussen going all the way around the outside, using all the road to his advantage now. Uses the grip he's got. He'll have DRS again. Sainz looking in his mirrors, trying to figure out where the Haas is. The Haas of Magnussen is going to make the move down to turn 4. Can he brake late enough? It's all about confidence in these conditions, and Magnussen certainly isn't lacking any confidence here in this race. He goes all the way around the outside of Carlos Sainz. Absolutely wonderful move there for the Haas driver, and the really inferior machinery makes a great move on the Ferrari there. But now Charles Leclerc has been dominant today once more. It's something we've said so many times this season, but it's going to be Charles Leclerc who comes around the final corner now to take the win once again here in Alternative Apex 2022. It's Charles Leclerc who wins the Austrian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen 6.7 seconds behind, and Valtteri Bottas for Alfa Romeo is going to take the final step on the podium today. What a drive from the Finn. People said his career may well be over when he left Mercedes, but he has proved them more than wrong. So I imagine we may well get a nice radio message from him there after this one. But it is George Russell who will take 5th, ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 6th place. Lando Norris will take 7th there for McLaren. Pascal Wehrlein and Nico Hülkenberg, they are going to take 8th and 9th for Porsche. So double points for the Porsche team, who will really need it in their fight against the likes of Alpine and Alfa Romeo. Although Alfa Romeo's result today of 3rd may well push them clear of their rivals in that midfield and push them pretty close to Mercedes as they're racing into the final corner here. Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen racing out of the final corner. Who is going to get to the line first? It is Kevin Magnussen there, who will take the final points paying position on the road. So great drive from the Haas driver. And as soon as the race finishes, the clouds have gone away and the sun is back out here. So Charles Leclerc, your race winner here in Austria. Can anyone stop him? That is really going to be the question for the rest of the season. Because, I mean, so far there is no sign that that is happening anytime soon. So, and we can't blame Ferrari and Leclerc for being this good. We have to look to the likes of Red Bull, Mercedes, I suppose now Alfa Romeo. Can they take the fight to Ferrari? And if they can't, why? You know, it's the regulations that are in place in Formula 1 these days mean that there shouldn't be these sort of big discrepancies between the teams. There is no financial reason, at least, why a team should struggle compared to another one so much. It is raw talent at the end of the day. So Charles Leclerc really putting in a great season, and so is Ferrari, a team that have been a joke for recent years, are finally stepping themselves up to the level that you'd expect from the great team, and, well, of course, the most successful team in Formula 1 history. Now we have a look to the race results here. Well, the weekend results, I should say. Charles Leclerc comes away with the most points at 33. Crucially did not get fast lap though, so not quite maximum points for the Monegasque. Max Verstappen takes 25 points home across the weekend, with Valtteri Bottas taking 19 points away from a weekend. I mean, several weekends last year in 2021, in the Mercedes, he scored less points than that, so brilliant weekend for Valtteri Bottas there, as he just demonstrated his skill once more. Now we look to the drivers' standings. It is Charles Leclerc, 47-point lead now over his teammate, which is absolutely massive. Verstappen only 3 points behind Carlos Sainz, just shows that Sainz has really dropped off in recent races, and it's a shame to see, but sadly that's just how it is. And Sainz, despite looking like a real title contender, he needs to change something after the summer break, because it just doesn't seem to be going his way at the moment. And until that sort of key thing changes, nothing's going to change for him. So he needs to look in the mirror, maybe even look at Ferrari and see what is going wrong for the team, at least on his side of the garage, because Leclerc is very much clear of him so far at the moment. And he is going to need a Leclerc-style second half of the season if he wants to take the fight to his teammate in this championship. Now we look over to the constructor standings. Ferrari don't actually outscore Red Bull by that much today, as Red Bull, of course, taking home good points because of Sainz's retirement today. But the sprint race format meant that I believe Ferrari may have actually still scored more points than Red Bull, but it much tighter than perhaps you'd expect, despite the pace difference between the two teams there. Then it's Mercedes in 3rd still. Alpine just about still in 4th in the constructors. Alfa Romeo just a point behind their rivals now in that battle over 4th and 5th in the Constructors' Championship. But that is it for today's race in Alternative Apex. Much longer than one than we're used to in recent times here. The sprint race and Grand Prix, they just had too much action for me to cut out of it, so I had to leave it all in here for this week. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the longer episode, do let me know in the comments below. Because, I mean, if longer's what you prefer, then I can definitely make the episodes longer more often here in Alternative Apex. But, you know, if you prefer the shorter, snappier ones, then I will do my best to keep them short and snappy. But, of course, sometimes, for example, today, there wasn't much I could do to shorten this one down. There was just so much racing throughout the field, it would have felt wrong to cut out some of the battles, because there were great battles everywhere. And I feel like, whilst, of course, the front should take priority, as, you know, they're the guys running at the front, battling for championships and wins and podiums, it's still these guys, they're all racing out there, and if it's good racing, I think I speak for all motorsports fans when I say good racing, whether it's for 1st or whether it's for 5th or whether it's for 20th, good racing is good racing, and I hope you all enjoyed today's, I suppose, feature-length episode. Yes, that is it for today's Race here in Alternative Apex. I hope you all enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.